Welcome to another day of 30 days of homemade Christmas gifts. Today I'm going to show you how I made a wreath. So let's go right to it. This is the Christmas wreath that I made. It's made to look like poinsettias, and I used red and white, and I made them very glittery and very dimensional. Okay, how I put them together, I'm just going to go through how I put them together. I started out on the computer and I searched poinsettia templates, okay, and I found the one that I thought I liked the best, and that would be easy to cut. Okay, so I picked this one, and how I did it is I actually put my piece of paper up on my screen and I just lightly traced it with a pencil so that I could just have one, and then I made it that size, and then I also made it a little bit smaller and traced it again. So I had one that size, and then I made it even smaller and traced it one more time. And then what I did is, once I was done tracing them on the computer, I went over that with black Sharpie marker, and to make sure that I could see it really well. And then I took that and I traced those as many times as I felt like I needed onto colored paper so that I could then, well, actually I traced it onto white paper. Sorry, my bad. I just traced it onto white paper with a pencil. I traced each different size a few times. And then what I did is I put that in my scanner and I photocopied it onto the colored paper and onto some white paper. And then I sat down to watch a movie and cut them all out. It took forever. Once I cut them out, then I also I glimmer misted all of them so that they were shiny. Took a really long time too. And then I took each one and I brought it to my my score pad, and I scored each petal in half so that they kind of looked like a poinsettia a little bit more. And then I went one step further and I glitter painted the tips of each of the flowers so that they all looked nice and glittery, which when I think of poinsettias, I think of glittery poinsettias. I don't know why, I just do. Okay, and then once those were all drying, oh, and to glitter paint them, I mixed up my own sort of version of a glitter paint. I took a little bit of glue and then I put the gold glitter into it and mixed it all up and painted them on because it was a little bit easier than actually putting the glue on and then sprinkling it on and then wiping it off. And this just worked a little bit better for doing as many as I was doing. Okay, then while those were all drying, I went and I took a piece of 12 by 12 lightweight chipboard. This is the white chipboard that's from the Joann's pack that I get at Joann's. And I took a big plate that filled up almost the whole thing, and I traced it. And then I just drew another little circle on the inside. I wasn't too worried about it being perfect. I have about, I would say maybe about 1.5 inches to 2 inches here. But it doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to see that part anyways. And then all I did is I started layering each of the poinsettias. Some of them have lots of layers, like this one right here. It has big layers or has a big one, and then it has 2 little ones, has 2 big layers, and then a small one. Some of them are just 2 big ones. I just wanted them all to be a little bit different. This one is just 1 big layer, 1 medium layer, and 1 little layer. They're all a little bit different. And then I also cut some of them in half to fill in spaces on the back. See, I glued them on the back, and to make it even a little more dimensional. So that's what you end up with once you start putting them on there. I think it looked very pretty, but my favorite one of the wreaths that I've made out of paper was this one. This is my fall wreath, and I love how it came out. And I did it almost the same way. On this one, I searched leaf patterns online, and I found a few. I wanted to use a couple of different shapes. Some were a little more complicated, and some were plain old, like this one right here, just nice and simple. Okay, and then I printed them all onto, I took some lighter weight pattern paper. I took bunches of different kinds. There's some thick weight here, there's some thinner weight. There's just all bunches. There's some that are two-sided. And I traced them. I traced the shapes of the leaves. You can see on the back here. I traced the shape of the leaves onto the back of the pattern paper. And then what I did is I glimmer misted all of them, all of the leaves, so that they're shiny. And I then, while they were wet, I crinkled them all up so that they looked all crinkly. And then I flattened them out. I opened them up and let them dry. And they kind of dried like this into nice little shapes. And then I took, while they were all drying, then I took, this is the cover of a pattern paper pack, and I just cut a circle out of it. The same technique, I used a big plate, and then I just drew the inside circle and cut it out too, so that I had a nice circle. And then I just started kind of gluing the leaves all over it. And I love how this looks hanging on my wall. And I did the same thing here. I glued some of them to the back. Like you can tell, this one here is glued. This one right here is glued to the back of the paper, and some of them are glued onto the front just to give it a little more texture. This one's a lot flatter than the poinsettia one because I designed it to be that way. The texture is coming from the wrinkled paper. And then also I rolled some paper flowers that matched the fall colors and glued them on, and I put gobs of glue in the center and glittered the center too. I don't know that you can tell, but each of these leaves is very shimmery. I love this project. And all I did was Google leaf patterns, just like I Googled the other one. So I hope you can make one of those, and if you do, send me an email. My email is annamarie29@gmail.com. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I will be back tomorrow with another day of 30 days of handmade gifts.